Josh Raven here with Esports, joined by Richard Lewis at the Cobb Energy Center in Atlanta, and we're here for the ELEAGUE Season 1 finals.
Sure are.
It's been a whole season of Counter-Strike. I mean, I can't remember most of it. It's been all gone by in a day.
Doesn't surprise me, mate. Nah, to be honest, neither do I. There's been a lot of Counter-Strike played. It's been a real long season. Just in terms of the work that everyone's had to put in, you know, like everybody from the top down, it's been like just a massive project from start to finish. So, yeah, I'm obviously looking forward to be able to sort of have some breathing room to take stock about what we did in Season 1. But as soon as Season 1 ends, we've got to plan for Season 2. So it's coming at you thick and fast.
So has it really been like all in all season? Have you been working like, is it an everyday kind of input? Is there any like free time you get? Have you enjoyed the city or anything like that? Or is it literally just all in on ELEAGUE when it's live?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, you know, which I always try to be, of course, yeah, there hasn't really been a lot of time to take stock of Atlanta and have any sort of fun. You know, the fun has to happen on the broadcast.
Yeah.
So that's where that's what we're doing for like 6 days a week, you know. Obviously, after the TBS taping, we've had some pretty late nights. You spend that next day in bed, and then you've got to prepare for the next thing, you know. I'm meant to be writing a column for the website, which I usually duck out and don't do, which they all hate me for at Turner. So, it is a lot of work. It's a mammoth undertaking. And like I say, it's not just me who does that. All the talent has input. Then you've got all of the crew, you know. This is like a real TV show. So you've got a guy whose job it is to follow me around with like something that measures how hard light bounces off my head. That's his job.
Quite hard, I know.
Yeah, it does. And he's the guy who makes sure that it doesn't bounce so hard. So when people are watching it, oh no, bloody hell.
I hope they're paying him a lot.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Really.
So I mean, it's a massive crew. You got dozens and dozens of people involved, and you know, there's stuff that we have to make, you know, strategic decisions, planning. We do content meetings, so we're looking at like what documentaries do we want to make, what long form content are we going to make in the off season, which players should we be watching and telling their story about. It's just a lot of planning to make it look as good as it does when it goes out on TBS. So, you know, that said, that's the job, and like I'm immensely proud at the final product that we have put out there. I don't think an esports broadcast has looked as good as ELEAGUE. I think in terms of end product, I think we've really raised the bar. And that's not just hyperbole. That's not just something to say because they cut my paychecks. That's legitimately what I think, you know.
Well, obviously a lot of that input has come from Turner's side in terms of production and stuff like that. And you've mentioned before that you guys have input on the show itself, essentially what you show, how it works. But how much input is there? Like a Turner kind of, is there any pressure on them to any restrictions, or is it all total. You guys? You can just say we want to do this, and they let you go.
It's total input. You know, like so we have these meetings where all the directors come in, and you've got and the heads of like the content team and we just say, okay, well, you know, look, Neo, Forest, that's a rivalry that's been around in Counter-Strike for a long time. We've got to focus on that because they're playing each other. And they'll go, okay, well, what angle do we need to do? What angle do we need to take? So this tells you all you need to know. For that content idea, we were interviewing people in week 1, you know, just on the off chance it might happen, just on the off chance they might play each other. So we're wrapping content that we might not even use just in case we need it. Like when we've got a team, we'll take them and we'll plan around it. And that, again, that organizational aspect takes a lot, but it's driven by, you know, the people that know the game, and the research that goes in from the production side of things and the content side of things. They're trying to get up to our level so they can make these executive decisions without having to, ask us necessarily to handhold them all the way through it. But we're pretty much driving this, and that's scary because you've got like Turner basically saying, okay, we've got all these cool toys, you've got dozens of staff that you can use at your disposal, but it's your ideas at the end of the day. So if we have bad ideas, we're going to get a bad product. So the pressure is a different kind that we used to. Usually you go to a mainstream esports event and you just get told, right, we haven't got the budget for that. We got one camera, talk into it, mate. PC just blew up. Yeah, PC just blew up. You got 30 minutes to fill. That's what we do. So yeah, so it's a bit of a unique experience, but we've all got used to it. You know, Duncan's been great for that. So.
Yeah. Well, we talked about how you guys have an input on it, the talent. I want to talk about how the players, is anything different for them? It seems like a more professional environment. How have they adapted to it? Because they're used to rocking up to a tournament and just like showing up whenever, going out for a smoke break whenever they feel like it, coming back in. There's no like set time slots for these, whereas on TV, obviously, it's quite a bit different. How do you feel they've adapted to the timing and the production?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to speak for players. I'm sure if you were to ask the SK guys what their feelings are about ELEAGUE, it might not be good feedback, right? And we know that ultimately what we talk about when we're putting a show together is we want the players to feel looked after. We want them to feel like professional athletes. We want to create an environment where they can come and just think about the games and succeed, free from all the distraction and noise that you get when you go to other esports events. There is a payoff, of course, in the sense that there is something you've got to compromise in the sense that when it comes to TV time, you've absolutely got to be ready to go. Like, it's got to go out. So breaks maybe do get cut a little bit shorter than what you can have at a regular tournament, because we need you back in your chairs and we've got to be ready to go at this set time. So timekeeping is a big factor. We've got staff that are just dedicated to doing that, making sure players don't wander off. Other esports events should take note of that. But that's what we do, you know. And it's like, again, I don't want to make anyone feel like they're not having fun here, that they're not, you know, that we don't care about them or whatever. But yeah, obviously, a professional environment has to, you know, it goes both ways, right? We need certain behaviors in place, but we'll give you everything else. You know, we'll make sure you can get to and from your hotels. We'll make sure you've got fresh fruit, food, water, whatever you need. We've got runners on hand to go and get you things if anything arises. You know, all we want you to do is just be here, sit down, play, so you can keep your mind free of any other distractions. And I think we've created an environment that's good for that. All the feedback I've had from the players I've talked to has been positive. But ultimately, again, I wouldn't feel comfortable sitting here and speaking for players. We're going to sit down with the players at the end of the season and get player feedback directly, because we want this league to be the best.
Okay, well, we've covered our ELEAGUE spiel a little bit there.
I think so. I think I've done my minutes.
You've done your job.
Right, there you go.
Something else you've been doing recently is a lot of YouTube videos about CSGO gambling, skin gambling. You kind of become known as the face for that now, as well as the other guy on the call.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of get your mindset on that. When you first get told a piece of information, when you first find out that Phantom Lord is running his own site and T Martin is running his own site, or, I mean, if we go way back, Mo is gambling with percentages or whatever. I mean, what goes on in your mind? How do you think of that? Because these people are your friends, like you've said. So what goes on in your mind when you get that information?
It's like everything, you know. It's okay. It wouldn't matter how good friends we were. If you're doing something that is potentially unethical and it's hurting a large group of people, I'm not going to stand by and be, you know, because when you don't speak up, you become part of that problem, right? So, like, I do care about the esports community, which is in itself incredible, given everything, right? But I do, and I want it to be better, and I don't want young, naive people, potentially naive people, I don't want young adults to have anybody that can take advantage of them. I want them to have the full facts. You know, I'm a consumer-driven person in general. If you make a bad choice, but you knew it was a bad choice to make, that's fine. If the facts are laid out and they're there, it's like when you have a Big Mac, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
You're used to them. I'm used to them.
Yeah,
We're all
right?
used to Big Macs
We're all, right.
in esports.
You know that there's probably, I should probably have the salads. It's not a secret, is it, right? I know that a salad is going to be better for me long term. But then I think a Big Mac tastes nice, so I'm going to have the Big Mac, aren't I? That's fine. That's the kind of adult decision that I can support. What I can't support is, for example, hey, I really like this guy, and he's telling me this website is good and safe and legit, so I'm going to go and I'm going to use it because I believe that guy wouldn't lie to me. And then not only is that guy lying to you, he owns the website, and then on top of that, in some cases, we're seeing people fixing outcomes. So you were never going to win. It was purely his dictate. That is disgraceful. That is a terrible way to treat people that have put you in a position. And it wouldn't matter if you were the best man at my wedding. Yeah. I can't let that happen, because then we keep too many secrets in esports. That's one of the big shames about the industry, that we'll call somebody out for a bad performance. We'll call somebody out for a tweet that we find offensive. We will not call people out for systemic dishonesty. And it makes me so angry that we will cover for these people time and time again. I made a point. I hit a point in my career where I said I'm not going to do that anymore, regardless of who it is, and that's been proven. My record speaks for itself. Let's say, you know, and it doesn't make me feel good. I'd rather these people weren't doing dishonest things. Yeah. I don't like being the face of being, like you say, the face of something this bad. Being the only person, apart from maybe one or two others, that's talking about it. I don't enjoy that. I'd rather people weren't doing it. I wish there was a way that you could catch these people, like that song, you know, with Dr. Dre and Eminem, yeah, Guilty Conscience, you know what I mean, where you just pop up and you go, listen, mate, before you open this gambling site, don't do it, because it ain't right. I'm spitting bars now, right? Just if there was somebody there to stop that from happening at the point, I'd like to be that guy. But unfortunately, what we've got is we've got a situation where people are just looking at how they can profiteer from esports. And that's what happens. The bottom line comes down to dollars and what you can get away with. And until we have some form of regulation, until things like ESIC, the Esports Integrity Coalition, takes off, this is going to happen time and time again, because people don't look at esports and think, how can I make this grow? People look at esports and think, how can I make this work for me?
Well, you're no legal expert or anything like that, or at least as far as I know, neither am I, so I don't really know what laws these guys are breaking or anything like that. But in your mind, what punishment do you think is fit for these kinds of people who are running these sites and not disclosing that they own them? I mean, if it was a regulated gambling site, that would actually be illegal, but because it's skin gambling, it kind of sits on the fence.
I mean, there's so much that has to happen before we can even talk about penalties, right? Because first of all, we need to know, was this illegal gambling? Was it legal gambling? Are skins currency? Are they not? You know, there was an announcement recently. Me and Sam were going to do a video about it, about how a judge has ruled Bitcoin is not money. So Bitcoin is not money, therefore I can steal your Bitcoin, and it's not protected.
I don't own any Bitcoin, but
I didn't think so, man. I don't even know what Bitcoin is. I just heard it.
Exactly, yeah.
So I can commit an act of fraud, take your Bitcoins, and then in this one state, a judge has ruled, well, because it's not money, it's not a crime. So that, if we extrapolate that and look at that for all forms of cryptocurrency, that's a crazy ruling within the context of skins gambling, should it be applied. Now, I don't know if it will, but you can see immediately we've got a big conversation ahead of us. Our skins money is this wrong? Will this be covered by FTC regulations? Let's say it's regulated gambling, let's say it's fine, and it becomes an issue of disclosure. Yeah. I think we can all agree it's unethical not to disclose. I personally think the FTC would look at that and say, you should have disclosed that you own that website in the interest of consumer protection, but the FTC can only fine you, so that's how big are the fines. And these people are making millions anyway. Yeah. I'd be like, whatever. In fact, there's some people out right now, if you honestly just believe that it's just an FTC regulation and nothing more, I'd just cut the check and make this go away. I'd just be like, hands up, okay, yeah, we should have disclosed it and get rid of it. Because they've made more than enough money out of this. And then on top of that, you've got issues of burden of proof. I think I've proved absolutely conclusively that with the information available, you can make a decision that it certainly appears to beyond reasonable doubt that Phantom Lord
is
controlled outcomes. Yeah. So I think, me proving it to you on a YouTube video isn't the same as it going to court and it being proven. There has to be a higher level of scrutiny. There has to be a better burden of proof. I'm a big believer in the justice system and that it should work for everybody. So that's another issue. That's another thing. Like, can any of this be proven in any meaningful way in the courts? So there's just so much that has to happen. The reality is, any court cases that come out of this, probably not even going to get to court for 3 years. Yeah. Probably talking 3 years down the road before we even see anybody in court over this.
Well, the other side of the coin, apart from the people behind it, are obviously the sites behind it, and Valve closing those sites, or trying to close the sites at least with the cease and desist, something that you've talked about a lot of on your channel. I'm sure they can find your thoughts on that over there, but just quickly for us, what do you think the cease and desist is even going to achieve? Do you think all these sites are going to be shut down by this, or do you think some sites are still going to be able to operate under, I mean, some of the people were even floating around the idea of manually paying staff to run bots for the site, well, not run bots, but run accounts for the sites.
Well, I think on the one hand, the cease and desist letter shows very clearly, just from a legal standpoint, where Valve stand on this. They have said now you cannot use bots for commercial purposes. Okay, so that covers them for anything that crops up in the future. So that, obviously, from a protection side of things, Valve had to do that. Yeah. Or they're liable for every class action that comes from this point still. So they had to make a definitive ruling. I don't think they've been as comprehensive as I would have liked to have seen in the naming of all of the sites. I think naming 23, I think it was. Yeah. And there's some very big names, conspicuous by their absence. I think that's a bit of an oversight. There's like one Dota site on there. Why aren't there more? And so I don't know the rationale behind picking those ones specifically. I guess you would need to ask Valve that. But I think what it achieves is it gets rid of the chances and the people that are only looking to make a quick buck and aren't interested in investing long term in esports and we're here just to make a quick profit. We've seen them. They've scuttled away like cockroaches when the fridge light comes on, mate. They've gone, and you're not going to see those guys again. They'll be on to the next profit. They'll be on to the next gravy train. The people who are sticking around and saying they've got workarounds, I'm intrigued. Because on the one hand, it could be like you say, it could be basically we're going to pay a bunch of people to do it all manually, in which case that's going to eat into their overheads and it might not last anyway. If the workaround's technological in its nature, then that's going to be interesting to see how they get around it. So what I'm intrigued to see is, what does it mean long term? What are they actually going to do? Are these people going to go legitimate? Are they going to get regulated? So again, it's thrown up a lot of questions, but I think for the most part, the people who have just shut down in light of the cease and desist letter, I think we're probably better off without those people, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they were only here to make a quick buck anyway.
At least, at the very least, we've done something. We've gotten rid of some of those people.
Yeah.
So now we'll end things off. We'll give it the ELEAGUE
I think,
touch.
did we have the hand signal?
We got the famous
He's
hand
talking
signal.
too much. Shut him down.
But we'll make it nice and easy for you.
Yeah.
We asked Anders the same thing. We're doing predictions for the semi-finals.
Yeah.
Of course we are. I think Anders said Fnatic and Virtus Pro.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be the pick there. I mean, look, I've got Fnatic winning the whole thing. I even went into maps and stuff on my prediction. I think you'll see Fnatic beat Na'Vi clean, like John Cena. They get through. Then obviously Mouse Sports. I think Nico can only do so much. Very different beast when you're coming up against Virtus Pro. First time Mouse Sports have been this deep in a tournament. There's going to be pressure there. There's already talk about who's going to get cut if they don't. After ELEAGUE. So that creates a different kind of pressure. So I think when you get to the final, obviously Virtus Pro Fnatic, I think then what happens is you see Fnatic triumph in some sort of roller coaster 3-mapper. I think neither team want to play Nuke. I think Virtus Pro might gamble and take Nuke out because of what happened at the Major with SK. So that obviously leaves Fnatic to pick Dust 2. I think Fnatic will pick Dust 2, and I think they'll comfortably beat Virtus Pro and Dust 2. They mauled G2 on it recently. And then I think Virtus Pro will come at them with a Cobble pick. I think they pick Cobble. I think Virtus Pro are in a good place on Cobble right now. They've won like 7-8 in a row on Cobblestone. It's becoming their best map, including taking a map off SK. Yeah. So I think they take Cobble, and then we go into a third map, which will be sad about a randometer or whatever, and then I've got Fnatic winning it just for experience. So Fnatic to win the whole thing.
Well, there you go. Fnatic winning the whole thing. I personally believe in Virtus Pro and slightly Mouse Sports if they get there, but that's it. Thank you, Richard, for joining us, and have fun hosting the last weekend of ELEAGUE for this season.
Looking forward to it. Take care, Josh.
Thanks.